Thank you so much, Brother Yogesh, for joining. And yes, before I give it to you, let me just say a few words about you. Um, Brother Yogesh, all of you know him very well. He has basically born in Malawi, Africa, an Indian background, but born and bred in London and Oxford. So I must say a British that way, a British Indian. And he has been a personal development trainer and a workshop facilitator for more than 20 years. And he has conducted so many seminars and workshops. And if I can't start saying all of them, I think it will take a long time. And I don't think any part of the world has remained untouched by him through his seva, whatever he's doing. So all of us know him very well. He now serves in the area of Turkey, and his training comes from the Academy for a Better World in Mount Abu, where I'm just right now sitting. That's the Gyan Sarovar. And also from the Global Retreat Center, which is there in Oxford. That's what he owes to both these institutes, his training. And a beautiful poem, as always, I do. Brother Yogesh strikes this beautiful balance of West and East. He shares his divine wisdom with us as a feast. And by inculcating that in our life, that's what we can do the least. Otherwise, it's like baking a bread without yeast. And let's try to convert into being beauty from the beast. Sorry, I have another screen on the other side, so my head is going on that side because somehow that poem is coming on the other screen. And a few lines on unity. As is said that united we stand, divided we fall. So let's not on our life journey ever try to stall. Never consider any achievement in life to be small, because on the world stage, your role is of a puppet or doll. Help others when in need and when they call. And each one of us spiritually is just still learning how to crawl. And let's play the game of life like handling a beach ball. So with this, I would stop and over to Brother Yogesh for all his wisdom on unity. Thank you, Brother Yogesh, once again for joining.
Thank you, Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Manoj Bhai, for once again a beautiful introduction. And I must start also by thanking the entire team for keeping this series going, especially during this time of pandemic. Providing this support and creating this community is really a great thing. So I'd like to add my thanks and continued encouragement for you to keep going and reach a wider and wider audience. So yeah, the topic is to explore unity. And I just caught the last 5 or 7 minutes of the sharing from last week. And so I was wondering, what can I add, as pretty much the topic has been covered fairly comprehensively. Not every person has their own perspective and experience. And so I will share some ideas from my own life experience. And I was also looking at some of the teachings of the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, Bap Dada, and how deep they are, how clear they are when it comes to any spiritual topic, especially unity, which I was looking at today. I feel this is also a very current topic, because as we turn on our news, whether it's on the TV or the social media, we see the world is very far away from the state of unity. It seems as though humanity is tearing itself apart. And if there's one word I would use to describe the state of humanity today, I would simply say it is lost. Just simply lost. and hence the great need for us to explore these topics and make that return journey back to truth, back to awareness. And certainly one of the signs of being spiritually aware is I would know how to have relationships of unity with other people. Unity is not something you practice, but unity is the result of practicing spirituality in your life. And let's start by asking ourselves, why do we need unity? Why should we have unity? How does it help us in our lives? I'd like to share screen as well and show you a few different slides here. So let me see if I can start with the first one here. Here's a saying I like very much. And I think it pretty much speaks for itself. If you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, then go together. It applies to everything in life. But of course, to be together, one needs to develop a certain skill set, spiritual skill set. To row a boat, one has to be in unity. If the rowers, if the members of the boat are rowing in different directions or not in time, then of course the boat will not go in the direction we wish it to go in. So reaching that state of unity or working together as a team requires skills and requires practice as well. And as was mentioned in the summary that Manoj Bhai was doing, that unity does not mean uniformity. It's not about becoming clones of each other or becoming robots. But yet, amidst different natures, different personality, different styles, different intellectual levels, different emotional levels, but yet to come together as one and enjoy the dance of harmonizing with each other. That's really the challenge and the gift of spirituality. And for sure that in my understanding, any discussion on how things can improve in the world have to start with a discussion on how can we improve ourselves as human beings. And that brings us to the level of exploring our own spirituality. Let's look at some examples of unity very close to home. And perhaps the first obvious example is the unity we see within our own physical bodies. Now, the human body is, of course, an incredible machine. It's an amazing machine, and think of all these systems working concurrently. Digestive system, blood circulation, respiratory system, central nervous system, all of these, they're working together at the same time in unity. And the result of that is we can enjoy good health. And if you take even one of these systems and just explore it, you see how each part of that system cooperates with the next part. For example, think of digestion. How does it start? It starts with the hand placing food into the mouth. And then the job of the teeth to break that food into small pieces. And the saliva, the salivary amylase to break that food down further, and then it's pushed down into the digestive tract. And further, then it ends up in the stomach. There are stomach acids which will break it down even further. And the blood will transport the nutritious energy, the vitamins, etc., to various parts of the body. So it's a factory at work, and it's tremendous to see how it works. And because of the cooperation between all of these different parts of the body, because of the unity we see amongst them, therefore, we're able to receive energy from something which we take from the earth and put into our mouths. But if one part of the chain decides not to cooperate, then we experience ill health. And the result of that then is, of course, we suffer. We can take the example of the 5 fingers, each one a slightly different shape and a different size, and each one has its own unique position on the hand. But yet, if the thumb were to say, well, I don't want to be here, why should I be stuck on the side here? I want to be in the middle. I want to be the boss, the one who is seen in the middle. And if this one says, why am I here? Why can't I be there? If they fight amongst themselves, then we cannot have a hand. But yet, since each one is different and each one has its own unique position, therefore, when they come together, you can lift something up and you can perform this extraordinary act of writing with a pen, tapping into the keyboard and so on. So we see how unity is all around us and our body is displaying the power and the benefit of unity. So one of the lessons we can learn from that is, in order to have unity, I need to value others around me. Now, it's very easy to see shortcomings, weaknesses, faults in others, and we kind of live in a world in which that is very much the culture. Media is full of people pointing fingers at each other and saying, it's their fault. We are doing this because they did this to us. They say, no, we did that to you because before you did this to us. But we did that to you because before that you did this to us. And so we live in a world which is a culture of blame, and the result of this is only madness. So to be able to bring ourselves out of that type of thinking, one of the things that helps us, even in our micro environment, whether it's family or it may be your workplace, is training myself to see the value in another person. Even though somebody may be 99% terrible at things, there may be 1%, one little thing that that person brings to our little group or our team. And if I see that, if I value another person's uniqueness and individuality, it will generate from me feelings of appreciation, feelings of regard and respect. And this, I feel, is really the key to bringing about unity, meeting the needs of another individual. Now, why this is a challenge is because those needs may be hidden away beneath what we can term as bad behavior. So for example, let's say a person is displaying negative traits. It could be bossiness, could be arrogance, it could be jealousy, etc. And if I simply see that behavior, it can generate from me feelings of antagonism or anger or irritation. But spirituality teaches us, do not see the bad behavior in front of you, but extend your vision to see the need of that individual behind that bad behavior. And I'm using the simple term bad behavior. whenever anybody behaves in a bad way, the individual, the soul who is behind that is suffering. So what do I see? Do I see the behavior I don't like? Or can I see the sufferer who's behind that behavior? If I simply see the behavior, I may condemn. Condemnation may emerge. If I see the sufferer, then compassion would emerge. And so on an everyday individual personal relationship level, here is a big key to unity, and that is reminding myself in every situation, I have the choice to see what I wish to. This, I think, is a great attribute of people who are authentically on a spiritual path. They remind themselves, no matter what is in front of me, what my mind chooses to see and to focus on is in my own hands. This is the power of vision. If I make wise choices, if I choose to see what is meaningful, what is useful, or even the potential in another person, it will generate feelings of respect for the other. Now think about what it is that people want mostly from other people. What do human beings want from other human beings? Now we can make a long, long list of things, but in my view, it boils down to these two main things. One is we want to be respected. The other is we want to be loved. And I think these two words cannot really be separated from each other. Where there is a genuine respect, then there'll also be a real love. And when we understand this, then we realize that, to keep my relationship stable and to create that sense of harmony, no matter what happens, I need to just make sure that I am generating these very high quality attitudes and vibrations. Think about, people who have really touched your heart in your life. And it's usually been due to the little things they have done. In little situations, you notice how their behavior towards you has been very divine, very elevated. For example, you may have snapped at someone. You may have shouted at someone. But that someone did not react to you in the same way. You notice that someone didn't even keep in your mind your emotional outburst, and they even let it go. So when we see these great acts of spirituality, then it naturally generates a sense of respect and regard, and these things become a bridge for a real solid relationship, a relationship of unity. Now, one of the things I have noticed, and again, my experience with the senior yogis in our organization, the Dadis, was this, that no matter what another person was like, they would not keep in their mind the shortcoming, the weakness of the other. Because what tends to happen is, let's say I had an emotional outburst, got angry, got upset, maybe shouted at someone. And then the next time you meet that person, you have the thought, he or she is remembering my bad behavior. And you feel a little bit embarrassed or a little bit, shy about it. But there, what I've noticed with these senior yogis is they don't give any internal space. They don't give any rent space to keeping even a memory of your past mistake, your past bad behavior. And it's extraordinary to think this person to whom I behaved badly has completely let it go, is not even remembering it. And it's almost like this is giving you permission to grow out of your mistake and to move forward. And when I noticed that in the senior yogis, I thought, this is real power. This is strength. One, to not be affected by somebody's bad behavior. Two, not even to put it in the sacred space of her mind. And you naturally feel like coming close to such a person and you begin to trust them. Now, the power that we need in order to be able to do this great act, that is known as the power to merge. These are one of the several attributes we need to create unity. Power to merge, whatever happens, not allowing it to become a barrier between you and me. And merge means to finish it. It's like you throw something into the ocean and the ocean will finish it and eventually that thing disappears. So a truly great spiritual person will not hold any grudges. Grudges become a source of disunity. And it's not just grudges about big things, but little things. Somebody spoke harshly to you. Somebody ignored you in the room. Somebody did not lavish praise upon you when you expected it. So you may feel shunned. You may feel a little bit sidelined. But yet, people hold on to these things for years, for decades, probably even for lifetimes. And it creates a bigger and bigger wedge between individuals. But that power to merge, just let it go. It doesn't even matter. It's rather like, water flowing off a duck's back, and you just keep moving on. I remember seeing a scene once of in a stream, two ducks were quarreling with each other, and they're really going at it, really, quacking away, like I don't know, some kind of disagreement they must have had in duck language. Something happened, so really, it was so loud. And then when it was over, one went his or her own way, and the other one their own way. And it was like, done. And I thought, are those ducks thinking, oh, that duck is a really difficult individual. That duck is just not my kind of duck at all. It seemed like they had forgotten it, and life moves on. I thought ducks can teach us a few things here. And what humans do is they remember stuff. They remember, so-and-so did not honor me in the way I wish to be honored. I am very, educated, clever, accomplished, etc., etc. Look how I was introduced. Look how they honored me. So when we take on these little things and we make them big issues by feeding them, and this creates a wedge, which then becomes a challenge to unity. And therefore, very quickly to deploy this weapon of the power to merge. Merge it, let it go, choose to make it meaningless. Choose to reduce the importance of that for you. Keep your happiness, keep moving on. And I'll just give you a couple more wonderful strategies from Bap Dada. And one was this, which I liked very much, that let's say, for example, you are a student sitting for a written examination. And so in the exam paper, there are all kinds of questions. And there may be an unusual question in the exam paper. Now, if the student begins to think like, why is this question here? This should not be. What was the examiner thinking when he or she wrote this question? So now in the exam, you have to answer the question, not question the question. If I'm busy questioning the question, the time will finish and I will fail the exam. But at that moment, I simply have to answer the question. So too it is in life with those who are spiritual students. One of the ways we see life is as a school. So sometimes life will throw a question at you. And all I have to do is to answer the question. What kind of questions? The questions are all to do with practical life situations. So a simple one, somebody insults you. And the question life is giving you there is, do you have self-respect? Even when you're insulted, do you have self-respect so that it doesn't bother you? So there, if I think of why this person is speaking to me in this way, then I am questioning the question and I will fail the test. If instead my focus is on, at this moment, I choose to maintain my dignity. I maintain my self-respect. If that's my answer, then the situation passes and I don't get flustered. I don't get upset. I don't get irritated. And that's called passing the test. If you can pass through any situation with your self-respect intact, that is called victory. If you're able to maintain this inner state of cleanliness or purity, that's what leads to unity. Purity leads to unity. Purity meaning purity of your mindset, purity of your feelings, purity of your attitude, purity of your vision. If within all of these things there is grudges, bitterness, resentments, if I'm holding on to these, it's impossible for there to be unity. So we learn to be in a continuous process of self-cleaning. Clean yourself inside and remove any bitterness you may be holding on to from the past. So that's one strategy, is answer the question, do not question the question. Second strategy I like very much is when something happens which may be challenging your peace of mind or your happiness, just remind yourself that this is just a side scene. Do not get sidetracked by going into a side scene. Stay on the highway of life. The highway means maintain your peace and happiness, maintain your dignity, and continue to share that with others. Do not get trapped in the side scene of this happened, which shouldn't have happened, or the behavior of someone bothered me. Do not even give an extra second to think about it. And we need these strategies. Why? Because we live in cities, we live in a world where everyone has their own way of thinking, their own intellect, their own approach to things. If you were living in a cave somewhere by yourself, maybe you don't need these 8 powers. Maybe you don't need to log in and listen to these talks on virtues and powers and values. But if we choose to live and work with other people, then yeah, we need the power to merge. We need the power to tolerate. So purity and unity, this is one formula. And the thing which partners also having the power to merge, the partner of that is to have faith in each other. And that's, again, a very important lesson in the spiritual university. Because it does happen that, each person, no matter how good they may be, each person is on their individual journey. And sometimes it happens, somebody is having a bad day or a bad hour, or at least a bad moment. That person may not be behaving or performing to the highest dharana standard, which means the highest level of spiritual behavior. And so very necessary there, even when somebody's behavior is a lower standard than it normally is, I must not condemn that person, but there I need to have faith in the other, faith in the other individual. He or she is just passing through a difficult moment, and he or she will be okay. And it's very important to do that, especially with people who, you consider to be highly spiritual. What sometimes happens is we develop high expectations of their behavior. And as the old saying is, expectations are an invitation to irritation. And because of this high level of expectation, sometimes when a person's behavior is lower than that, we may tend to point the finger and think, how come this person can behave like this? But their faith is needed. If not today, tomorrow the clouds will pass. Faith in each other, valuing each other, and there, not just being, lost in the moment that I didn't like this behavior, because those thoughts will break my unity, but to accept someone, knowing that they have great strengths, but also everyone is in their process of spiritual evolution. So sometimes, somebody may display or exhibit a wobbly sanskar, but it's okay. Let me accept and have faith. We're moving forward together. Just reminds me of another great sentence I heard from a fellow yogi. This person was saying that it's easy to forgive someone who is junior to you. It's a bit more challenging to forgive somebody who is your peer or equal. But the greatest challenge is to forgive your seniors. But if you want to be spiritually complete, you have to tick that box as well. Was I able to forgive even those who are senior to me? Senior could be in any capacity you wish. But that's a great thing. One of the signs of real spiritual maturity, even somebody who I expected to behave at a very high standard didn't, I must learn even to forgive that soul and not hold on to any hurt within my own heart. Now, I'd like to share a little bit about the importance of our intellect in this whole process. And sometimes this sentence comes in our core teachings that everything depends upon the intellect. And the more I've thought about this over the years, the more I've seen the gravity and the reality of this sentence. Everything in life depends upon your intellect. And I would say that just as doctors generally would tell us that look after your heart to have a healthy body, but I would say in the spiritual life, the slogan we have to remember is look after your intellect. Everything you see, you read, you listen to, you watch, you talk about, you eat, everything has an impact upon your intellect. And I remember one particular sharing from Bapdada about 3 different types of intellects that people may have. And the first one he described is people who have a baby intellect. Now think about this, that let's say there is some situation something doesn't go right, something didn't happen the way it's supposed to, or we planned something and the last minute the plan changed. This happens. Someone with a baby intellect, how would that person react in that situation? Well, a baby is one who can easily cry. So a person with a baby intellect gets upset again and again and again. Now he's okay. Now something happens and he's upset. Okay, now he's okay again. A few days later, something else happens, again he's upset. Now he's okay for a couple of weeks, then something else happens. This is called a baby intellect. Baby is very sensitive to weather, to temperature. And if there's a baby in the room, then everybody's attention goes to the baby. Is the baby okay? Is the baby hot? Is the baby cold? Is the baby sleepy? Does the baby need to be fed? So a person who has a baby intellect takes a lot of attention to look after that person, keep him or her happy. Such people are described as high maintenance friends. A lot of energy needed to keep the relations good. So that's the baby intellect. Second type of intellect is known as the youth type intellect. Now, what do we know about youth? Well, on the one hand, youths are very creative, of course. If that creativity is tapped into and channeled. But in the same context, if something goes wrong, something didn't work out right, plan changed at the last moment, a person with a youth type intellect will quickly start pointing fingers. Such a person will ask, who is to blame here? Whose fault is this? Who needs to be punished? Who do we have to a little bit, make that person disciplined? So this is the tendency of somebody who has a youth quality intellect, is easily becomes confrontational. And of course, that kind of attitude is going to rupture any unity there is. And we have to take care that if somebody is in that condition and is creating disunity, we have to not buy into that. But we have to help that individual to come back to a place of calmness and unity. As is, the old example, I'm sure you've all heard, that, it takes two hands to make a clap. So if somebody is doing this, then let me not offer my hand, and therefore there cannot be a conflict. And that, of course, requires great self-control to be able to not bite, to not take the bait, not to react to what I may be seeing or hearing, and hence the need for meditation to continue to develop a high level of self-control. And so that's the youth intellect. But then there's a third type of intellect, and this is the mature intellect. So baby intellect, youth intellect, mature intellect. So in the same situation, something changed, something didn't work out, we didn't get the result we wanted. The person with a mature intellect has this great speciality of being able to see the significance beneath the situation. And that's the key which makes a person mature. Do not just see a situation, but see the significance, the benefit hidden beneath the situation. As you know, in Hindi, we call this raz, being raz yukt. See the significance beneath the situation, knowing maybe today something seems to be wrong, but after a few days, this will be very beneficial for us. There is benefit hidden or benefit merged in the situation, and it may take a little time for that benefit to make itself seen and known. And when there's a person around who has a mature intellect, he or she remains very calm, very steady, very balanced, and other people also become steady and balanced in that person's company. And this is a great example of someone who really is a carrier of this energy of unity, brings other people together by not getting into blame games, understanding that things take time. If you want to see the benefit in something, sometimes you need patience, sometimes you need to wait. And I feel this is part of the game of life when approached from a spiritual perspective, is knowing that patience brings its own fruit. And as long as I am deploying spiritual values in my life to the best of my ability, there can only be a good result. There cannot be anything else. And so that faith in spirituality, faith in the self, and also faith in the process helps a person to be so balanced that we're able to help to bring unity within a group. And, you become like an example for others. It could be, for example, one person is bickering or complaining about the other. But if I, as a spiritually mature person, try to help the other to see the value in the person they are complaining about, it can help to train the mindset of the other. Yeah, let me see what is good in the other individual, what helps the other person. And if we all have this vision of seeing the best in each other, the result is unity. Let me share another screen here about the power of our vision. Again, some of you may have seen this before, but I remember this phrase from, again, from one of Bapdada's sharings, that in the world, if everyone starts seeing each other as a spiritual being, as a soul, all the problems in the world could be solved. Now, why this is so is because, certainly in my understanding, everything in life is essentially an identity issue. And if you look around the world, people identify themselves in different ways. Some parts of the world, people identify themselves by their race, the race of their body, their physical race. Other parts of the world, people's main identity is religion. What's your religion? In other parts of the world, people's identity is based upon their caste. Which caste do you belong to? Some parts of the world, people identify themselves by their tribe. Which tribe do you belong to? Who's your tribal leader? Or in some places by their social class and so on. All of these are identity issues. And the most pressing need today is to explore identity. And hence spirituality approaches this question very directly. Who am I and who are you? So what this is showing us here, if you come to this image on the left here, first of all, I need to be able to detach, to step back, to withdraw from my own ego masks. And all of these are part of what we call as your physical identity. Race, the culture, the religion you're born into, nationality, age, social status, all of that. So first I need to step back from that and experience my truth as a spiritual energy, a spiritual being, or a soul. So that's a big work in itself, to be soul conscious. But then the equally challenging thing is then to see another. And this takes a lot of practice. When I see another human being, what do I see? Do I see the race, the gender, the religious appearance, the culture, the caste, the nationality? If I see that, then prejudices and biases will emerge within me, and unity is not possible. But if my vision can cut through all of those ego masks, and I see the other person firstly also as a soul, firstly as a spiritual being, this then creates the bridge for communication. And this is so important. And often, we talk about this as the main lesson in the spiritual practice, the practice of soul to soul vision. Think of all the problems you see on the news today, all identity issues, because people see the ego masks, and the ego masks fight with each other. But I can only really see somebody else as a soul brother, as a soul, if I first see myself as that. This is a question of practice. Now, world unity is another subject, but our main thing is, what about unity in my relationships, my immediate family, my friends, my colleagues? How much unity do I have in my own life? And again, it's a question of vision. What do I choose to see? It's going to finish off with one last thing, because I think Manoj, I'm due to do a little meditation also, if I'm right there. So this is now about, the correct distance to have to another person so that my relations remain good. Now, in some parts of the world, people tend to be like this, quite distant to each other. In other parts of the world, including where I am, people tend to be like this, very stuck to each other. I think this is not good, but also I think this is not good. I think the right way to be with people is to be like this. Be close, be loving, be caring, be supportive, be friendly, but don't be stuck. If you're stuck to someone emotionally, if that person has a bad day or goes a bit crazy, it'll affect you a lot. If you're like this, and that person has a bad day or goes a bit crazy, you are stable. And your stability will help the other one to stabilize. It's a basic formula we learn. The main formula for harmony, balance, and unity in human relations is to keep the balance of these two things. Nothing new for yogis, but detached and loving. And I find this is a lifelong project to get this balance right in all our relationships. It's a formula for unity. Now, if I am focusing only on being loving, for example, which tends to be the case for most people, they become over-loving and they forget about the detachment, then too much love changes into these things. It becomes possessiveness. You try to own the person. Then you try and control their behavior. And if they don't behave according to your wish or your desires, you may put pressure on them to do so. And further, you may make demands. Unless you do this, then I will not do such and such. And it continues, the malaise continues to worsen. It becomes an attachment. And then jealousies arise, etc., etc. So all of this is, the result of the love becoming emotional love. All this is emotional love. Why? Because it's missing the detachment. If we go too far on the side of detachment, again, in some cultures, they become like this, too detached, then a person can become very cold and distant, Their behavior is very formal. Then a conversation with that person feels more like a negotiation rather than a conversation. They can become rather aloof and uncaring, etc. And so the aim, to work on is this nyara and pyara, detached and loving. And when I've seen this in, the spiritual masters, these dadis, it's incredible to think, wow, this is a very high state of spiritual growth. So much love, so much love, so much love. But at the same time, complete detachment as well. And that keeps the person very steady. And then, they're able to generate good wishes for you all the time. And that inspires you to also raise your standard to that level. If we're all working on that level, it creates harmony, creates a unity amongst us. And you really, you value the company of others more because it helps you to get to where you need to get to as well. So I think I should pause there and just check in with Manoj Bhai for any further instructions.
Thank you. Okay, so it was good, very interesting to look at the small notes which you give us. That's really nice, and a different perspective on unity. And I would request now Dr. Ashok Mehta and Sister Claudia, both the seniors with us as always, to propose the vote of thanks to Brother Yogesh.
Such a beautiful presentation of unity. I think I wish I had met Yogesh Bhai when I was young and very active. However, one thing is certain, that you have given us an excellent spiritual background to unity. I think unity is nothing else but maturity in spirituality. The more you mature, you see the beautiful part of the other person. I think it's a beauty lies in the beholder's eyes. This is what you have taught us today. And I think it starts at the level of the mind and the intellect. I think what you have said is Paras Buddhi, what Baba says, golden intellect, or one which the golden gold out of anything. Thank you, Yogesh Bhai, for your outstanding presentation on unity. I think you have brought a tremendous depth of understanding of unity with classical examples, and I like your vocabulary. It's amazing. Thank you very much for all that you have presented today. I think this is a life-changing lecture for anyone. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. I always tell Yogeshwar, Yogesh. It was very nice presentation. I like when you point out how the cells, they need each other to work in unity. When one cell decides to move, that's when we have the cancer and so many sickness comes. Even sometimes patient says, I don't need the 28 teeth. Yes, we do. If when you remove one, the other ones are not going to, you work the same way. So same way also when we are, like you said, with the 5 fingers, they all need each other. So if we keep that in mind, we need each other, we'll be able to adjust more to them. And then to live a life of unity, which brings us happiness too. Because when there is this unity, there is no happiness in the family or the workplace or the body or whatever. So it was very nice the way how you present. And I also like when you say it has to be like this, not like this, not like this. So it's quite nice to show how we should live with each other. Thank you very much for talking to us today about this nice subject.
Thank you, both of you. I'll just quickly do the announcements in just a couple of minutes, and then we'll go on with the meditation, closing meditation. Yeah, so as all of you know, our journey is going on very successfully, thanks to all the divine speakers. Well, someone is writing in the comment box as well that all the BK speakers have beautiful, radiant faces. I think their life speaks for their face, actually, the beautiful meditation which they are doing all the time. Okay, so we have with us Brother Charlie joining us next time. We have finally managed him to come for the talk after a long time. So it's on compassion. We are starting our journey tomorrow with the spiritual revisions as well tomorrow on compassion. It will be a Sunday, remember, so as we suit the time from where he is in Australia. So it will be morning for India and one day prior, Saturday evening for the west coast of US and Canada. And as usual, the workshop after that follows will be with Sister Dipti. She'll be joining us for the first time all the way from South Africa. She's also one of a very important instrument doing a lot of work along with Sister Gopi for the IYF, the International Youth Federation, which we have here at Brahma Kumaris. And that will be following Saturday after the talk. And this is the elegant calendar. You just have to, this event will be postponed, as I said, because of Sister Chandru's funeral, which is happening at the same time. So we won't be having the power to discern or discriminate this month. It will be the next month. We'll be announcing it shortly as the day comes near. So with this, I'll stop sharing the screen and over to Brother Yogesh for the concluding meditation. And there's always a request to take a photograph. So should we do that right now or do it after the meditation? And you can suggest what to do.
I think now would be good.
Now would be good, yeah. So all of us go in the meditative mode and exit. Yeah, so Sister Anu, if you can just take it right now. And
I'll take it right now. So let's bring our smiles. Video, open their video if you like to be in the photo, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
thank you. I'll just play some soft music in the background, if that's okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I think everybody is aware of how to meditate. So to be alert, but also to be relaxed at the same time. The world outside is of sound and motion. The world of action, the world of doing. It's a world out of my control. But there is also a world inside. The world of my thoughts, of my feelings and experiences. The world inside is in my own hands. And so I start by reminding myself of the first reality. Reality of my truest identity. I am not what I do. I am not what I have. I am not who I know. I am. I am spiritual energy. I am the spark of life in the center of the forehead. I am a living diamond. And when I see another, I choose to see the other also as the living diamond in the center of the forehead. I acknowledge, I value, I honor the individuality of each one. I'm able to share good wishes, genuine respect, and the purest love for each one in my life. As that spiritual goodness comes out of me and through me, it also reminds me of my divinity and brings divinity into my relationships. My divine and spiritual attitude brings comfort, brings respect, brings balance, brings unity in my life, my relationships, into the world. Om Shanti.
So thank you so much once again, all of you, and thank you so much immensely to you, Brother Yogesh.
Thank you, Brother Yogesh. Thank you, everyone.